Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives. Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Berges. Joining me today, Rosalind McClean. She's the author of two best-selling books, Ocean of Thought Book 1 and Oceans of Thought Book 2. Rosalind, great talking right before the break, and now I want us to kind of switch gears a little bit, and let's talk about the seniors in our society. I know how important it is to have respect and to treat our seniors with respect and love. And, you know, let's talk about that. How do you feel about the situation?
Yes, good question, Ashley. With the seniors, I think is that the youth, or in general, seem to have lost that respect or that discipline for the elders. From my experience, and for seeing and hearing and listening to people, you know, a lot of it is lost. And it seems that there's no caring, you know, for the loose languages and the loose way of you know, the personalities. There's no caring for these seniors. And I've had certain experiences, and that, you know, propelled me to write this particular poem, you know, focused on the book of the Epistle of James from the Bible, you know, because it was just so appalling, you know, the language and the behavior from a youth to me as a senior. You know, I can read the preface of this particular poem, you know, that really explains what, you know, how I transcended the material into this work. I said, I wrote this poem in meditation as a tool to enlighten one's heart around our seniors. The loss of respect hanging over the mouths of generations for seniors must be noted. And through some upliftment of the word, one might reflect on the self. This poem is written with an emphasis on one of my favorite books of the Bible, the Epistle of James. As I look towards Jehovah, the Lord of peace, I gather the inspiration, the strength and wisdom to write this song. Because actually, the way I wrote it, this could as well be a song that could be used maybe in, you know, just about anywhere. You know, there's another part I wrote too. I said, cracks in torrents of unintelligent lyrics from the youth to the senior, spiral moments of strife and belch stench of disrespect. I don't know you, so I don't have to respect you. Not because you are older than me, I have to respect you. Words that sit at the back of the tongue, taste of bad seed, saliva sip to the core, a bash of prejudices and families. Yet, carved to birth this message of inspiration, those written stains cannot be erased. May the Lord of creation dissolve the burden of unfavored disrespect. In other words, what I'm trying to relate here is that certain, you know, people on the whole, I mean, the youth on the whole, or whoever, persons, they would have this behavior. And because they think that, they think it's okay to continue this type of behavior because of who they are, who their family is, or whatever it may be.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And we have so much to cover in our time that we have, Rosalind. We have so much to cover. See, I think that's so powerful for everybody listening that, you know, that has been through that, has experienced that, or has, you know, I always look up to our elders because they do have something to teach us. And I think that's so powerful. So stay tuned. Don't change the channel. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, and some of the stuff you're really going to connect with, and you don't want to miss the golden nuggets of wisdom here. Rosalind's going to be here, so don't change it. Don't change it. We'll be right back. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Berges, will be back in. I'll be back this time. In 2 shakes.
Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Berges.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Berges. If you've been listening or you're just now joining me here in the show today, we have Rosalind McClean. Rosalind is a Caribbean author of Dominica, and she has 2 best-selling books, the author of Oceans of Thought, Book 1 and Book 2. And right now we're going to segue into Book 2. And one of the biggest situations, one of the most challenging emotional situations that many of us go through, or many of us have experienced because our parents went through it, is divorce. And when a parent leaves, and what the effect is on a child. And I know that many of you listening have probably gone through maybe divorce on your own, or maybe your parents got divorced. When I was growing up, my parents got divorced, and I went through that process. And it was interesting because for me, it was a little emotionally overwhelming, but at the time I didn't realize the emotional feeling that I felt. I kind of sacked it away. And so, Rosalind, tell me more, because I know that you've written to this specific topic. Tell me more about your feelings about that, and what was kind of the muse and the direction for the Riverbanks poem that's in your second book, Oceans of Thought.
Yes, I wrote this one out of visions. You know, it has been so dramatic, traumatizing for my daughter and I after the separation with my husband. And she was 6 years old, and how it affected her, you know, emotionally, and, you know, and what she went through the whole 9 yards of the separation. And it played, you know, I just knew I had to do something. I had to write something, but I did not want to go direct because I did not want to have to embarrass her. So what I did, I went through the inspirational, you know, motivation and the inspirational calling, you know, through, and this is how I wrote this. Like it transcended, like the whole book transcended. I saw it in visions. I saw the cliffs and visions. I saw the lake. I saw everything. And I just knew it was for me to start writing. I described her as 6 incense lilies of life. That means she was 6 years old when everything unfolded, when he left, when her life just changed, you know, when, you know, and she went through all this turmoil and this drama. She was 6 years old. And I know a lot of people related to this particular poem. I wrote it in such a spiritual way that to connect, you read it and you connect spiritually to this work, you know. And yeah, so that's how I wrote it. I describe her, I channeled into the cosmos, I channeled into the universal energy, I channeled into the holy inspiration to direct this work, especially this work. It has had to be done that way, and this is how I did it. So if you'd like me to read a couple of the stanzas in it.
Yes, for sure, Rosalind. Yes, I'd love to hear some.
Okay. The riverbanks. On the riverbanks of divine intervention, radiant pools of dazzling waters, reflections of brilliant sunlight, mirrors of celestial blue skies, adorning cliffs of coral yellow, a yellow of cosmic sight, a scenery of immaculate perfection, a dream spread of far dimensions. On the riverbanks of divine intervention, dripping with fountains of love and sweet sensations, 6 incense lilies of life, bubbling in the silvery waters, embracing in precious moments, floating over tranquil currents, 6 incense lilies of life, in gentle transparent imaginations, blowing kisses in the winds, cherishing simple childish moments, drifting in simple childish fantasies, holding truth to trust profound, afloat on divine intervention, 6 incense lilies of life, crafting healthy smiles and chatter, splashing in playful manner, drifting on the riverbanks of divine intervention. Gray shadows peep over the silvery waters, haze clouds suddenly appear, unforeseen crystal storms, unsuspecting passion wilts, innocence emotions shatter, Childlike expectations whip. Childhood security storm, shifting in the shadowed waters of awaiting expectations on the riverbanks of divine intervention. Amidst the tempests of divine interventions, 6 incense lilies of life, alarmed bundle of silk, lustrous white in the haze, weaved on stems of crochet. 6 incense lilies of life, levitating in the air, meditating in perfect oneness, above turbulence of unnatural waves, soaked in rains of crystal droplets, through the woven passing storms, a testimony exhibited of atmospheric change, oversaturated with the ether of divine intervention. This is written in 2 parts, but I just read the first part. It sort of covers the change in the atmosphere, the cosmic change that affects the child. It's a cosmic change that penetrates through, this separation and how it affects the children.
Yeah, because children don't really understand. It was interesting. I work with adults and trying to work with children on a different level with a nonprofit soon here. But it's interesting because with adults, people say, well, my parents got divorced at age 6 or age 7. And I get it. There was this issue with mom and dad. But I said, but at age 6 and age 7, you did not know that the issue was between mom and dad. You did not realize the situation, or you did not realize what dad's issues were, or you didn't realize what mom's issues were. And so as a child, it's very black and white. Dad leaves or mom leaves, and it's because of us. And I said, so right now as an adult, you can process that now, but what was the impact of that as a child? Because you don't understand.
Exactly. As a child, like the child believes that she is the result, she is of the separation, that she caused it. And, no matter how much therapy that you go through, that sticks in the child's mind. That's why I put it as 6 incense lilies of life, a bloom, bundle of silk, lustrous white in the haze, because it becomes a haze. And all the fantasies and securities and everything that they wish for, just suddenly comes to a halt. No matter whether they see the parent or the visitation, no matter any of that, the house, the house that they grew up in, that's destroyed. And this is basically, what propelled me to write this piece here, And it took me, it came to me in such visions that there was nothing to touch this one. I always say that because God doesn't make mistakes. And when he put this, he sent this message to me to put it down, there was nothing. When I read it for my daughter, she said, Mommy, because I told her I was going to write something on her. And, of course, she didn't want to be mentioned, but I am not writing it like to call anybody's names or to say a child or no. I'm not doing it that way. I do my work, especially this piece, on the spiritual level. And I think on an inspirational level. And I think it caught on. I feel it caught on to everyone who has read it, who has heard it. It resonates with them. It caught on. Because there's a second part to this piece, that it explains how the turbulences and how it shattered her. How it shattered her. If there is time, I wouldn't mind just going through the second part.
I think it would be a good idea. Let's go through it because I feel like many of us have gone through this. Many of you listening are going through it right now. You went through it as a child, and we do have to heal these inner wounds. We do have to heal these core wounds that we have, and some of them go back to when our family split up because we didn't realize the impact it had on us because we felt like it had to do something with us. We were not good enough. We were not a good enough child. There was something wrong. So Rosalind, if you don't mind, that would be great if you continue with that.
Okay. So I'll just continue. Okay. Welcome rays of sunshine, peeping through a white cloud, high above in 4 dimensions of magnificent celestial skies. 6 incense lilies of life, survival of the mysterious storms, awakening bright from meditation, more breathtaking in perfection, more inspirational in creation, more mystical in scenic beauty. 6 instant bliss of life, survival of the mysterious storms, slowly absorbing new abundance, breathing sweet assorted perfumes, embracing the miracle of life, of the adorning cliffs of coral yellow, on the riverbanks of divine intervention, blossoming in harmonious cluster, 6 instant bills of life, smoothly drifting over dazzling waters, rains of clear crystal droplets running off its gentle petals in the calmness of the wind, 6 incense wheels of life, triumphant on a chord, pulsating music of pure chimes, strumming from flawless petals in the dance of melodious rhythms, 6 incense lilies of life, sharing accolades of cosmic bliss, spreading kisses of new life, resplendent of nature's craft, victorious over the storms on the riverbanks of divine intervention. As one gazes at the open cosmos and its most majestic creation, one is drenched in appreciation of its most magnificent nature. The rhymes of creation, the rhymes of challenge, the rhymes of change, plentiful in nature, 6 instant lilies of life, meditating on the oneness, transcending through the grace, levitating through the space in gentle, transparent imaginations, over pools of dazzling waters, over pools of dazzling waters on the riverbanks of divine intervention. Om Namah Shivaya. Yeah. So the second part of this poem, it just shows how she grew and how she expanded and how she became even better. You know, although she went through that turbulence in the first part, but then, you know, with nurturing and the cosmic energies, she was able to transcend that drowning, because that's actually what it is. It's like a drowning when a child, you know, is put in that situation, and the parents separate for whatever causes, whatever reasons, and the child is drowning in that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I wrote it, and it brought so much light. It brought light to her as well. It brought light to me. It's like a healing. That was such a healing piece, that I call this particular piece a masterpiece. I call it God's divine masterpiece, that particular poem. In fact, all of them are his divine masterpieces. But this one, I guess it's one of those that really penetrates, really pulsates. You know, it goes deep, and it goes deep for just about everybody, you know? So, yeah.
It really does, Rosalind. I think everybody has experienced this one way or another, and it's powerful, and it is a healing, and we have to heal through these things, and
Yeah.
that is one massive healing point that many people have to heal through. Some people haven't, and maybe this poetry will help them to heal and to get to that point, because you're right, it's a lot of us, we hold that from childhood and we live with that, and you know that becomes that core wound, and in order to get away from those core wounds and core beliefs, we have to expose that and try to heal through that process.
Exactly. That's correct. That's correct. So I'm really hoping that you know, people continue to listen and to get the work, you know, to get the books and really heal from my work. So far, you know, people tell me that my work has changed their lives, and the book changes lives for the positive, for the better. So I'm really, it's one of the you know, one of the callings that I have, that I will do something, some work to help others. So I'm really, you know, looking forward to these pieces being used, you know, as helping tools to others, for others. Yeah.
Powerful stuff. We have so much to cover, and it seems like so little time, but When we return, we're going to be talking about where you can find Rosalind, where you can also find the books. We haven't been able to cover, but there's some poetry, the silent bully that expresses and talks about being bullied at the workplace, being bullied at school. A lot of us have experienced that, or our children have experienced that, or we've experienced that at work. The unexplained absences, the concepts of where you have family member or friends that you haven't heard from in a long time. You've reached out, you don't understand why they haven't gotten back to you. Why can't they communicate with me? And eventually over time things change, but it takes you to stick in there, to keep pushing, to keep trying to get their attention, to try to rekindle that relationship. So we have much more. Stay tuned. Live Your True Life Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Berges, will be back in. I'll be back this time in 2 shakes.
Get in here. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Berges.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Berges. If you've been listening, you know that I've been talking to Rosalind McClean. She's a best-selling author of 2 books, Oceans of Thought, Book 1, and Oceans of Thoughts, Book 2. Rosalind, I love both of these books, and I love the content as far as some of the stuff that we didn't get a chance to cover on the silent bully, talking about that right before the break, which is so interesting if anybody's dealt with bullying, whether it's in the school district or at your own work. Going through work processes is very important. Or, not being able to communicate, having somebody that you've had in your life for a very long time and you haven't been able to communicate with them, unresolved separations, and understanding that. Rosalind speaks to that in her work. So knowing that there's so many different topics and so many different life experiences in these books, because they are a source of literature, social sciences, cultural affairs, as well as social studies, which are so powerful. Where can listeners find you, and where can listeners also find the 2 books?
Okay, thank you for asking, Ashley. I have a website, rosalindseverin.mclean.com. I could spell it out, ROSALIND, Severin, SEVERIN, McClean, MCCLEAN.com. You could find me on that website. I also have a Facebook account for Oceans of Thoughts, so you could find me there too. You could message me from Oceans of Thoughts. I have Instagram as well, and so yeah, you could find me on those platforms.
Perfect. So you can find on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, Oceans of Thought, or Oceans of Thought, and Twitter, Oceans Thoughts 2. So Rosalind, it's time at this point on the hot seat for the golden nugget. One golden nugget of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners from your perspective would be very powerful.
Yes, I would definitely like to share some of my inspiration with the listeners. The inspiration of honesty, inspiration of kindness, an inspiration of the wealth of knowledge, of the wisdom. I would definitely like to share that. So people be mindful of their relationship, mindful of their respecting one another. People have patience and the patience of knowing, and patience of longing. So these are some of the things I like to share with the listening public. How to relate to others. Another thing I am looking at is that I would like to invite the institutions and universities and schools, to be able to invest in my work as a learning tool to the students and to professionals, because my work is helpful. It's helpful to all the readers, and I think it'll be a very good tool. I know it's be a very good tool. It to be used in the schools and in universities. As a matter of fact, too, I have presented my work to a couple universities and libraries, and I'm just waiting for the official acceptance. I presented it to the University of the West Indies in Dominica, and presented the books to them, and I'm just waiting for further acceptance. So yes, I definitely would like to share that. to share that with the listening public,
Very valuable. And I definitely I love both of your books, Rosalind, and I do hope that they get into the school districts for sure, because I think these can really help kids process emotions as well. And I definitely want to have you back on the show at some point. This has been such a great communication, such a great talk.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks so much. I would love to be back on your show. I look forward to that invitation. And definitely, yes, I will look forward to it.
Very powerful. For everybody that's been listening to this interview today, I hope that you've gained something from this, gained some knowledge, gained some emotional connection, because that's what this is all about. Whether you've gone through bullying, whether you've gone through a divorce and a parental disconnection, whether you've dealt with dealing with being a senior and having certain things happen to you, or wanting to express and be there and be helpful for folks of certain ages, and no matter who they are. And I think that this show is all about mindfulness. It's all about perspective. It's all about connecting with those life experiences. And Rosalind, thank you again for being on and being able to be able to speak to these types of things, because I think that many of us aren't able to put it into words how we truly feel. And that's what's so valuable. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate your time. I really do. And I look forward to speaking with you again.
Can't wait to see everybody next week. We'll have another live show. Don't miss it. And live your true life perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Berges, will be back in. Well, you know what's up. I'll be back this time next week in 3 shakes.